All right, welcome back. In this video, I want to show you a combination graph. So sometimes we like to embed kind of two graphs together on one, particularly if we're trying to compare data or if it helps to show different trends in the data using different kinds of graphs. So I'm going to go and select my data first. So I'm on a new worksheet here. I'm on the price and shares worksheet. And I'm going to go ahead and select my data from A4 through C4, and then all the way down to row 25. So A4 through C20. Oh, sorry, not 25, 69. Whoops, 69 there. And again, I'm going to go to Insert. And I'm going to try recommended charts here. And they give you, again, your recommended charts on the left. Now, up top, though, you do have a feature called All Charts. So if you click that, it will give you all your options, not just the recommended ones. So you have your column versions, your line, pie, you have horizontal bar graphs, scatter plots, and so on, tree maps, etc. So there's lots of different kinds of graphs that we can do, and we've just seen a few so far. The one on the bottom is combo. Now, I will say one of the most common kinds of combination graphs is this right here, or similar style. So not so much the stacked error, but one of these two where you have some sort of column or bar graph overlaid with a line graph. So we do see that a lot in statistics as well, where we'll have sometimes column data, but then we will overlay that with a trend line. So that is a very common application. But you can kind of do whatever you want, as long as you're careful that it is still readable and useful. So on the right here, this one with the pencil is a custom. So you can actually choose what you want your graphs to be. So for instance here, I'm just following along with your book, what they would like to do. So for price down here, those are our two variables, right? Or different variables besides the date. So I'm going to choose this one to be a line graph. And then for the shares traded, your book recommends using a clustered column. And again, if you hover, the title will come up. So this is your clustered column. And I do want to add in a secondary axis. So you can see right here what it basically looks like. But clicking secondary axis for the other one will add in a different axis on the right side. If I don't click that, then what they're doing is one y-axis for everything. The problem is here that the price data is so small, right? If you look at your data chart here on the left, the price data is so small that you can't even see it. It looks like a flat line, which it's not. So this is a case where we do want to have a second y-axis so that you have one set of y values on the left and another set on the right. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now, again, you can go ahead and move this chart to a different sheet if you want to. I want to hold on that. You can add in your chart title as well and do the normal editing that we've seen in the last few videos. I'm going to focus on this particular example, but you can still go in and edit as we've seen before here. So at the bottom, you have some dates. You do have, looks like some costs over here, right? These were prices. And these were, what was it? Let's see. Our shares. All right, so shares traded. So one thing that you would probably want to do is add in some labels because this is not super clear here. So I'm going to skip the title. You guys can fix that at home, but I'm going to go to my plus sign here, my chart elements, and I'm definitely going to add in some axes titles. And you'll see that they brought up 3 because I actually do have 3 axes here. So for the one on the left, we can just call this price. All right, let's try that again. Price. Okay. The one here on the bottom, they would like us to use just date. And then the one here on the right, we're going to use shares traded. And you can see that my typing is kind of going up here, so you can read it, and I can hit enter and fix that. Now, if you don't like it reading from bottom up on the right side of your graph, you can go back to the home feature. And remember, you have the orientation. So if I go ahead and select in there, I can go ahead and change that orientation and rotate it down so that it's kind of reading more normally on the right side. So I can go ahead and fix that there. And you can change different orientations, right? So I can go ahead and click any of these if I want to go ahead and change that orientation, if I want to angle it or again, rotate it or something like that. I don't really like this here, so I don't want to do that, but you can change the orientation of the different parts of the graph as well, just like we can in the Excel workbook. So that's one thing that we're going to do here. Again, color is really important here because you have two very different sets of data here. So in the green, you have the price. And then in the blue, you have the number of shares. Sorry, I have that backwards. In green, you have your shares traded, sorry. And in blue, you have your price. So see, price is blue, shares are green. I got to make sure I read more carefully too. So you have your shares traded, and then you have your price. So you have two very different things going on here. I do really warn you if trying to use a combo graph here that your audience does understand what's going on. If you have an audience who is not as savvy with Excel or with charts, with mathematics, and this may be very overwhelming and confusing. So you just want to make sure that you can accurately depict the information to your clients, right? I really recommend having two different kinds of data on the same graph, unless they do have something being related or something that you're trying to figure out a relationship between them. Again, here it's very confusing because on your green side, you're going from 0 up to 70 million. And on the price side, you're starting at $26 and going to 34. So you have really different information here. So again, just a warning to be really careful with these combo graphs that your reader understands what is happening. You know, a reader in the public may not be able to follow something like this if they've never seen it before. However, if we're trying to compare data, one thing I could look at and say that, well, there doesn't seem to be a pattern to shares traded. They all kind of seem to be pretty, you know, up and down over those few months, but I definitely see a trend in price. So it doesn't seem that the number of shares being traded is fluctuating too much, right? I don't see a trend there, but I do see a downward trend in the price. So that kind of does allow me to compare two different pieces of data to see if there does seem to be a pattern between the two. And here it really just seems that, hey, things are still being traded, but prices are going down overall. So again, just my warning to watch out for some of these trickier graphs that not all readers understand them as well. All right, so let's see some other things that we may want to do. Oh, we can also change our scaling on the axes here too. So here on the right side, maybe I want to change my vertical scale. I can go ahead and double click that axis. And again, here you have your fill, some more your formatting. And then over here, if you click the bars, you have your axes option. So you just want to be careful and click down. Now you can change your maximum. This is in exponential notation. So this is 7 times 10 to the power of 7. So basically you're moving that decimal point 7 spots to the right. So this is where a little bit of math is coming into play here. So that is your 70 million. If I want to change this, maybe I want this to be 1.6 e to the 8. So that's changing it to 160 million, right? So that e, if it's positive, is how many spots you're moving your decimal place. And you can change your bounds of your axes as well here. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. You can also change the units. So here, actually, let me go ahead and do that and hit enter. So it updates, let's see, 1.6 E8. All right, so there we go. I hit enter and it updated. So now I changed this to under 160 shares, and you can see my columns changed appropriately, right? They're the height that they're supposed to be for my new data here. And I can also go down and change my display units. So here we're just going out for the full number, but let's say this is confusing. I could have my units displayed in millions, for instance, and then I will just display that way. So that's something else you can do. This seems a bit excessive to have my scale go this high, if I'm being honest. So I'm probably going to fix this. Maybe we should just go out to 16 million. Nope, that's too low. So again, you can kind of play around here. Going out to 100 million maybe. So again, you can kind of play around to see what is a good scaling for your graph. Again, this still seems a little bit high because my bars are so low here. I don't need to know that I need to go this high, but you can go ahead and play around with your axes and also, again, adjust your units as well. And again, you have your tick marks from before. You also have your labels and so on. So you can adjust and update each of these pieces as you see fit. And again, you would probably do each axis individually, right? So if I want to change this axis on the left, I could go ahead and go in and now manually play with my axis options here as well. So if I would like this to go up to 36 instead, perhaps, I can adjust that and you see how it changes. I'm going to reset my graph because I just totally messed that one up. And you can, again, play around with your different units and things like that in here too. Like with all Excel, I think you'll see that the biggest thing is really just getting in there and trying it. There's always an element of frustration with Excel because, like I said, different versions function slightly differently sometimes. Today, I'm using Excel 365. So if you're using something different, a different version of Excel, you may have some slight differences. Maybe the formatting works a little bit different, or maybe you bring up the different format features in a different way. It's not by double clicking, maybe you right click, or maybe there's a different icon that you're using. So again, if you have questions, please reach out. And also don't be afraid to play around with the data. So this is why you have your practice sessions each week. Practice before you hand in an assignment. Make sure you know how to do all the features, particularly on your own computer. When you get into the real world, no one's going to say to you exactly how to do your axes or exactly how to label them. You're going to have to kind of figure that out on your own. And part of that is just playing around. And like I just did, like I changed my maximum price and I said, oh gosh, I don't like that at all. And I just fixed it and went back to the old one, right? So some of the work in Excel and with charts is just being willing to play around and try and know that it's okay if you make a mistake. You can, always undo something. Or if you're worried about it, save an extra copy and have one of them be the ones that you kind of play around in to get used to the different programs or different functions, and then have like your set copy that you go to when you're ready.